Hello, class. We're going to start chapter 25 in this video, and this is the beginning of a unit on negotiable instruments. I'm going to put the PowerPoint up right now, and let's see if I can do this correctly. Get to slide view, normal, and slideshow. All right, thank you for your patience here. Oh, sorry about this, class. Here we are. So, said we're starting a new unit, and in this chapter 25, let me advance the slide, you're going to be introduced to 1, what a negotiable instrument is, and 2, how to determine whether an instrument is negotiable. First, I have a few general remarks, and we'll take a look at some different types of commercial instruments. So, commercial paper, which is governed by Article 3 of the UCC, was created in order to have more readily transferable rights than ordinary contract rights. You'll be able to see that once we really get into this topic. All right. There's less risk associated with commercial paper than with ordinary contract rights, and the reason for that is just you're going to have a lot more stability and a lot more availability in terms of transfer. So we'll start first with a definition of a negotiable instrument. You'll see I have it on the screen here, and eventually you'll recognize that this definition, it tracks the required 6 elements that are necessary in order to have a negotiable instrument. I recommend that you start learning these 6 elements here at the beginning of the unit. It will be helpful to you as we start to examine negotiable instruments. All right, we're going to be doing some exercises in which you're going to have to know these elements, be able to spot them in an instrument, and then ultimately take the information you have and make a conclusion as to whether or not the instrument you're examining is negotiable. All right, we're going to cover each one of these elements that are listed in this definition at a later time. Let me just read the definition to you though. So, a definition of a negotiable instrument includes these things, all right? A written and signed unconditional promise or order to pay a specified sum of money at a specific time or on demand to order or to bearer. Now let's take a look at 4 types of negotiable instruments. These are your standard 4 types. We break the 4 types into 2 separate classes. So we'll take the first class where we have drafts and we have checks. Essentially, drafts and checks are about the same. All right, so I'm going to spend time looking at a draft with you here. But while you're thinking about that, you'll recognize elements of the check. Essentially, drafts and checks, like I said a while ago, they're essentially the same. All right. So a definition for a draft is on the screen. It says unconditional written order to pay. So if you think about that, if you have a checking account, you write your check, and you are telling the bank, please pay the person who I've listed here on the payee line. That is your order to the bank to pay the check. So unconditional written order to pay. There are 3 parties when you have a draft or a check. The 3 parties are the drawer, which is defined basically on this slide. All right. the party who creates the instrument tells the drawee whom to pay. Second party is the drawee, who is the party who will follow the drawer's instructions and make the payment. And the third party is the payee, who receives the payment. All right, I'd like to show you a section from your textbook. Let me see if I can get out to your textbook quickly enough here to do that. Switch over. All right, this is what I wanted to point out in your textbook. It's good to look at some of these illustrations in your textbook. May just help to synthesize some of the information for you. I'm sorry, I cut it off a bit. But you see the title on this is Basic Types of Negotiable Instruments. It's within the first few pages of the text. And what you'll see here on the left are the two categories of negotiable instruments. We're looking at the first category right now, orders to pay. And you'll see it has listed for you draft and check. It has some definitional statements over here in the middle. And then it outlines for you the three parties on the far right-hand side. All right, so handy to have this reference in your text. All right, now I'd like to take a look at another example of a draft. And this is also in your textbook. Let me see if I can move there fairly quickly. I'd like to put example 25-2 up on the screen if I can find it. Actually, here, well, there should be an explanation in here. Here, I think this is it right here. Example 25-2. All right, now, a trade acceptance, which is what we're taking a look at, will have three parties, just like we talked about in the draft. Let me go back to my PowerPoint. Sorry, class. All right, let me switch back out. And here's the slide. All right, it has three parties. In this particular scenario, you're going to see a drawer, who is the seller. The drawee is the buyer. And the payee is the seller as well. So you see actually two parties having three roles. That's essentially what's going on here, right? Because you have the seller and you have the buyer, but they're playing three different roles, the two of them. I hope that makes some sense to you. All right. So the buyer isn't able to pay cash for goods that he is buying, or it is buying. So the seller has some choice here. They can extend credit, which they most likely will, and then carry what? Carry that credit as an account receivable on their books and just expect the payment later. All right. Now, that's a little problematic though, right? Maybe, you have some understanding of carrying an account receivable. You learn that in accounting. It's sitting on your books and you just have to wait it out, right? To get the payment maybe 6 months from now. What if you need cash though sooner than that? Not that easy to sell off the account receivable. That's a contract right. And you'd have to set up some contractual transaction to do that. So it requires documentation and some confirmation of that account receivable. And so the seller who is expecting the payment could do that, all right? But they would prefer something a little easier to handle, all right? And so this is where the trade acceptance comes in, all right? So I made a few other points here on the screen for you. So the buyer could execute this instrument called a trade acceptance, and it will substitute for an account receivable. The buyer still has time to pay at some agreed upon date in the future, and the seller has the flexibility that if he needs cash, the seller can transfer this trade acceptance, this negotiable instrument, and probably will do it at a discount to some third party willing to buy the instrument and wait until the instrument is paid. 6 months down the road, for instance. All right. So the documentation as a negotiable instrument just makes it easier. It assures the buyer of that negotiable instrument that there really is some account receivable that he or she can collect upon, and it just keeps things moving commercially. All right. The seller gets some cash, and what's the seller going to do with that cash? The seller is going to go out and buy some more goods, and then can sell those new goods and make another transaction. So it keeps things kind of moving in our economy, and this is the reason that commercial paper, negotiable instruments were designed, all right, to support our commercial economy. Now, let me go back out to the textbook, and maybe you didn't catch all that. I have it explained here on the PowerPoint, but the textbook has it explained in more narrative form for you. All right, so remember we have the parties. We have Jackson Street Bistro, the buyer taking its restaurant supplies, buying them from Osaka Industries. When Jackson requests supplies, Osaka creates a draft ordering Jackson to pay Osaka for the supplies. Here it says 90 days. I said 6 months. All right, so 90 days. And sends it along with the supplies. When the supplies arrive, Jackson accepts the draft by signing its face and is then obligated to make the payment. This signed draft is what we call a trade acceptance and can be sold to a third party if Osaka needs cash before the payment is due. All right, Osaka would sell the draft through the commercial money market, the market that businesses use for short-term borrowing. All right, this may not be very, very popular any longer, but it gives you an idea of how commercial paper is supposed to work. And I think it's good for your understanding, which is why I choose to cover it. All right, I'm going to switch back then to our PowerPoint, and we'll move on to the next slide. All right, the next slide, let me put it back into slide view. Sorry, class. All right, we're going to talk a bit about a cashier's check. All right, this is another example of a draft. Again, we have our three parties. We have a drawer, a drawee, and a payee. And here you'll notice the drawer and the drawee are the same party. We have a bank who is going to serve as both the drawer, the person who's giving the instruction on the draft or on the cashier's check, and the bank is also going to play the role of the drawee, the person who has the funds that the draft is being drawn upon. All right. So the payee will be identified by the bank's customer who has come in to purchase the cashier's check. The customer has come in and deposited money with the bank. So the bank has these funds, and the bank then will create a cashier's check to draw upon those funds that they're holding. And then the customer fills in the name of the payee, tells the bank whom to make the cashier's check payable to. All right, so my comment about a cashier's check, actually I probably can show it to you. Let me go out to your textbook. This should be, sorry, did the wrong thing there. All right, let's go back out to your textbook and get it up on the screen. This should, went too far, class. Probably should just scroll down the page. All right. There should be an example after the trade acceptance. Let's see. Did I miss it? Maybe it's back this way. I find this a little. Unless my book is a little different than what they put electronically. That's odd. Oh, I'm sorry, class. I thought it would be here, and it doesn't seem like it is. So sorry, I'm here like scrolling through. I don't mean to confuse you. I will just do without showing you this, because I can't locate it. So we'll just go back to the PowerPoint. And let me get this back up on the screen for you. All right, so does that make sense, though? The cashier's check even though there are 3 roles, you have 2 separate parties, the bank and the payee. All right, drawer, drawee are the bank, payee named by the customer. All right, we're going to move on though and look at a second class of negotiable instruments. This would include notes, promissory notes, and certificates of deposit. All right, let me give you the definition of this second class. Basically, is the definition of a note. Think of a promise to pay. A note is a promise to pay. Certificate of deposit, which you might be familiar with, you take your funds to the bank and deposit them there. The bank creates what's called a certificate of deposit, which is a promise to pay you upon the maturity of your certificate of deposit. All right, so a definition would be very simply a promise to pay, and the payment can be at a definite time or on demand, and it can be payable to a specific payee or to bearer. Bearer meaning whoever is in possession of the instrument. All right, we'll talk more about that when we learn all the specifics of a negotiable instrument. All right, what else can I tell you about notes and certificates of deposit? There are 2 parties involved. There is, first of all, a maker, that's the person who promises to pay, and there will be a payee, which is the person to whom the promise to pay is made. Oops, didn't mean to do that, class. Let me get back here. All right, let's see if I can show you. We have some example of promissory note. We just saw that in passing in your text. Let me look it up for you, and just so you have an illustration. Exhibit 25.3, and then the certificate of deposit should be very close to it as well. All right, so here is the promissory note in your textbook. Notice how at least they show you where the makers, they're usually at the bottom of the instrument. So these are the people that made the promise to pay down here. Their last name is Roberts. The payee is up here. This is the bank. So whenever you take a loan from the bank for your car or a student loan, let's just say a house loan, you would sign a promissory note to the bank. Right? So promissory note, 2 parties, maker and payee. Let me scroll down and see if I can find the certificate of deposit for you. I hope it's not hidden somewhere. Oh, I think here it is. Sorry, class. All right, just so you can see it here. All right, again, laid out very similarly to the promissory note. One maker, which is the bank, who accepted a deposit, and that's why the bank is signing as the maker, promising to pay the payee or the bearer. This is the customer, the bank customer. All right, so promissory note, certificate of deposit. All right, generally, my students don't have many questions about at least these initial instruments. So we looked at, first of all, the draft and checks, and then now we have looked at notes and certificate of deposit. I want to go out, though, and take a look. Let me see if I can get to the back of the chapter. Shouldn't have done it this way, but let's just, there's a problem that will just help us look at promissory notes. Let me see. Oh, this is what I should have done. Here we go. All right, it's one of these business scenario problems. Take a look with me. It's problem 25-3. All right, here it is. All right, what's going on here? We have a college student named Austin Keynes, and he is going to buy a new entertainment system from Friedman Electronics. Because Keynes doesn't have cash to pay, he is going to sign a note where he promises to pay $150 a month for the next 6 months. Friedman wants to sell the system to Keynes, and so they agree to take the promissory note. Here's what the note says. It says, I, Austin Keynes, promise to pay to Friedman Electronics or its order a sum of $150 per month for the next 6 months. Right? Austin Keynes signs it. Week later, Friedman Electronics is badly in need of cash. What does it do? It signs the back of the note, and by doing so is getting ready to transfer it. All right? Signing the back of the note is what we call an endorsement. We're going to be learning about endorsements in the next chapter or so. All right? And what do they do after they endorse the instrument? Friedman Electronics sells it off to First National Bank of Halston. All right? They probably are going to sell it for less than the face value of the instrument. We don't know the total value of the instrument, but that would probably be the only way that they would be able to sell it. They're going to have to give a discount. All right? And First National Bank is willing to wait to be paid at the end of 6 months, and is a willing participant. They make some payment to Friedman. Friedman has money now. He can go out and buy some new inventory. All right. So the question asks you, though, what's the designation for each of the three parties on this note? All right. Who is Austin? Austin Keynes is the one who signed the promissory note. We call him a maker. He is the maker of the instrument. All right. He makes the promise to pay to Friedman Electronics. So Friedman Electronics is the original payee. All right. Now, Friedman Electronics transfers the instrument over to First National Bank of Halston, and we have not yet learned what do we call First National Bank of Halston, but they are a third party to the instrument. All right, outsider to the instrument. And so at this point, we just refer to First National Bank of Halston as the holder. All right, just try to get that straight, who the three parties are in this scenario and what we call them. All right. All right. Our next part of the video, our part 2 of chapter 25, we're going to start looking at what are the 6 elements of a negotiable instrument. And so I'm going to close out of this first part and pick up with that.